Why do the greatest geniuses in history all seem to share one secret? From Ramanujan's unimaginable mathematical formulas to Tesla's inventions far ahead of their time, they didn't come up with them on their own. They downloaded them. This hard drive records everything, including your own future. It's not located on some distant planet. It's like an invisible Wi-Fi network surrounding you right now. We are the terminal devices, but the problem is, you're disconnected because you don't have the password. Nikola Tesla, Ramanujan, and even Baba Vanga all discovered the code to access this data vault. They weren't smarter than us. They simply knew how to log in to something called the Akashic Records. Do you want to know the password? From the perspective of Tahanaga, a student of computer science, a shocking truth is revealed. The way the Akashic Records operate is strikingly similar to blockchain technology. It is a decentralized, immutable data system in which every transaction of life is permanently recorded and can never be erased. And if the Akashic truly exists as a perfect operating system of the universe, then an even bigger question arises. If this is the system, what is the world outside the system? Today, we decode the Akashic Records, a data archive from a different space-time.
In India's great epic Mahabharata, there is mention of a non-material entity that permeates all of space, a cosmic ledger of creation that stores every vibration of the universe. Eastern sages called it Alaya Vijnana, the storehouse consciousness in the 8 consciousnesses of Buddhism, the place that contains the seeds of all knowledge. But can such a spiritual entity truly connect with humanity's most logical language, mathematics? To unravel this mystery, we must travel back in time and return to a brilliant soul in the history of science, Srinivasa Ramanujan, a man who, to this day, leaves the academic world quietly wondering, was he a time traveler, carrying knowledge from the future to pour cold water on the arrogance of modern logic? In his short lifetime, Ramanujan wrote down more than 3,900 mysterious mathematical formulas and propositions. Most strikingly, these formulas did not emerge from any visible process of logical deduction, and this very fact once subjected Ramanujan to deep skepticism. On December 22, 1887, in a poor rural area of India, Ramanujan was born into a declining Brahmin family. Poverty closed in on them, and the entire household survived precariously on the meager income of his father. At the age of 11, when he entered secondary school, some strange current seemed to awaken the young Ramanujan's mind. He did not learn mathematics, he saw it. This passion was so intense it bordered on obsession. While his peers focused on a balanced education, Ramanujan lived only for numbers. The consequence was harsh. He failed to enter university 2 years in a row due to his lopsided studies. In 1906, he managed to enroll in a local college, but after just 3 years, he dropped out. Fortunately, through a recommendation, Ramanujan found work as a clerk at the Madras Port Trust. The officials there, especially Rao, recognized his extraordinary mathematical talent and valued it so highly that they even allowed him to continue receiving a salary without coming to the office, so long as he devoted himself entirely to mathematical research. And so the mathematical notebooks came into being. They contained no explanations, no steps of proof, only final results. However, having never formally attended university or received a conventional higher education, Ramanujan's mathematical achievements could not be officially published, a reality that once left him deeply frustrated. In 1913, with a nothing-to-lose mindset, Ramanujan sent his work to a mathematician at Trinity College. That man was G.H. Hardy, the renowned professor at the University of Cambridge. The sender introduced himself as an untrained clerk with only a high school education, yet enclosed formulas that made Hardy hold his breath. "We learn mathematics, but Ramanujan invents mathematics," Hardy exclaimed. He realized at once that he was not facing an ordinary man. Almost immediately, an invitation from Cambridge was sent. In 1914, Ramanujan set foot in England. But London was no paradise. There he ran headlong into a wall of prejudice. The traditional mathematical establishment, armed with the conservatism of Western logic, poured cold water on the Eastern genius. They called him a fraud. How could someone present answers without solutions? How could one know truth without deduction? The suspicion filled Ramanujan with indignation. Hardy, too, was deeply puzzled. Without any logical chain of reasoning, how had Ramanujan obtained these formulas? In a conversation that would completely change Hardy's worldview, the professor asked, "How did you get these things?" Ramanujan's answer seemed not to belong to this world. "The goddess Lakshmi spoke to me in my dreams." He explained that whenever he fell asleep, the veils separating his mind from the universe dissolved. The goddess would appear, writing in the air or projecting before his eyes mysterious formulas. Upon waking, he simply copied them down. Such words were, of course, entirely unconvincing to the mathematical community. Yet Hardy did not abandon Ramanujan. He told him, "You don't need to prove every formula. Proving just one or two will do," because this was crucial for Ramanujan's future academic path. It would silence the voices of doubt, give his work a firm footing within the orthodox scholarly world, and open the way for it to be passed down to future generations. Under Hardy's urging, Ramanujan began the process of translating the knowledge from his dreams into human language. But England's harsh climate ravaged his body. Persistent coughing followed, then the scourge of tuberculosis. In just 5 short years at Cambridge, despite carrying a serious illness, he published 28 brilliant papers, each one a foundational brick of modern mathematics. In 1919, his body exhausted, he returned to his homeland. A year later, in 1920, Ramanujan breathed his last in Madras at the age of 32. The mathematical world was stunned. Hardy, in anguish, called it a pain that cannot be accepted. Yet, before departing, Ramanujan left behind a final legacy, an enigma that would take nearly a century for humanity to begin to grasp: the Mach theta functions. At the time Ramanujan wrote down the Mach theta functions, no one on Earth understood what they were for. They were like a fragment from the future, dropped into the past. It was not until 1973 that the mathematician Pierre Deligne proved part of this mystery and was awarded the Fields Medal, the Nobel Prize of Mathematics. In the 1990s, physicists were stunned to realize that the functions Ramanujan had copied from his dreams decades earlier were in fact the key to explaining phenomena inside cosmic black holes. Even more astonishing, Ramanujan had proposed them nearly 50 years before Stephen Hawking published his theory of black hole radiation. How could a poor man who had never seen a modern telescope precisely describe the mathematics of the most distant and mysterious entities in space? In 2000, Time magazine honored him as one of the most influential figures of the 20th century. He is hailed as India's greatest mathematician of an entire millennium. Yet beyond all titles and accolades, the greatest question still remains. If Ramanujan's formulas are real, if they can decode black holes, the movement of tsunamis, or even cancer cells, then was their origin, those dreams of an entity called the Akashic Records, merely a delusion? Or does there truly exist an infinite reservoir of knowledge drifting somewhere out there, waiting for minds sensitive enough to connect? The answer, perhaps, still lies within the notebooks Ramanujan left behind, waiting for the next traveler from the future to decipher them.
Nikola Tesla,
the father of alternating current, radio, and dreams of wireless energy, has long been seen as a symbol of logic and precise engineering. By all conventional reasoning, a mind as sharp as his should have scoffed at mystical concepts, but he didn't. Tesla not only believed, he revered them. The key lies in his deep friendship with the Indian yoga master Swami Vivekananda. Through their discussions of ancient Vedic philosophy, Tesla came to realize that what he was striving to prove through electrical science aligned uncannily with how the ancient Indians had described the universe thousands of years earlier. In his book, The Greatest Achievement of Man, 1907, Tesla wrote words that shook the scientific world of his time. All perceptible matter comes from a primary substance. It is Akashic, also called ether. To Tesla, Akashic was not a vague religious notion. It was a kind of subtle matter filling empty space, the primordial energy from which all life and all ideas are formed. Tesla's strangeness lay not only in his theories, but in the way his mind itself operated. He possessed an ability we now call extraordinary visualization. He needed no blueprints, no wooden models. In his mind, a three-dimensional image, a hologram, would appear with absolute precision. He could run a machine in his head, let it operate for a week, then inspect which parts had worn down. Physical experimentation, for him, was merely the act of copying what had already been perfected in his brain.
But the question remains, where did those images come from? My brain is only a receiver, Tesla said. In the universe, there is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration. Tesla admitted he had not fully unraveled the mystery of this core, but he sensed its existence like a broadcasting station, constantly transmitting magnificent signals. He did not see himself as a creator, only as an antenna sensitive enough to tune into the right frequency of the universe. Tesla once made a prediction that remains a guiding principle for those willing to step beyond traditional boundaries. If scientists one day begin to study non-physical phenomena such as the Akashic, the progress achieved in the next 10 years will surpass all progress of the past. This statement was not merely hopeful, it carried a note of regret. Tesla believed humanity had become too obsessed with measuring what could be touched, forgetting that the true source of power lies in the invisible. Many believe Tesla did not merely study electricity, he truly discovered how to log in to the Akashic Record, the universe's information library, and bring back inventions centuries ahead of their time. In the mid-20th century, Edgar Cayce, born 1877, brought yet another breakthrough. From a very young age, his parents noticed that he could see certain visions invisible to adults and often spoke to empty space. Before long, Cayce discovered he possessed a peculiar ability. He only needed to sleep on a book for a short while, and upon waking, he could recall its entire contents. Cayce's life took a dramatic turn in 1899 when he developed severe laryngitis and lost his voice. After many futile attempts at treatment, a renowned hypnotist suggested that Edgar Cayce try hypnosis to regain his speech. After several trials, once Cayce entered a hypnotic state under guidance, his voice did indeed return. But upon waking, the illness came back. Gradually, Cayce seemed to lose faith in hypnotherapy. At that moment, however, an amateur physician proposed that Cayce himself take control of the hypnotic process to fully awaken his subconscious. During this session, the doctor asked Cayce to explain what was wrong with his body and how it should be treated. Cayce lay asleep on a sofa and said, "This illness is not physical, but psychological." The doctor then asked him to increase blood circulation to his throat. Almost immediately, the skin around his throat turned red and grew hot.
After several such experiments, Casey's voice, lost for nearly a year, was completely restored. That day was March 31st, 1901, marking the moment Edgar Cayce truly opened the door to another world. From then on, Cayce began to read the Akashic Records to heal others. One example was 6-year-old Amy, whose brain development had stopped. Cayce accurately identified the cause as a fall from a horse-drawn carriage 4 years earlier that injured her spinal cord and was compounded by an influenza infection, details even her parents had forgotten. By 1929, his prophetic abilities surged. He accurately predicted the Great Depression on Wall Street, World War II, the death of President Roosevelt in 1945, and the founding of Israel. When asked where this information came from, Cayce explained that part of it came from interpreting each individual's subconscious and another part from the Akashic Records. He admitted he could not access or read the Akashic Records while fully awake, nor could he teach others how to do so. Each time he entered a hypnotic trance, Cayce would speak aloud the information he received, while his students recorded his words. According to Cayce's research, the Akashic Records consist of 2 parts. The first is the existence of the universe itself, also called the divine blueprint of life, formless, colorless, unchangeable, and eternally immutable. The second part is the sum total of all actions and experiences of every soul, embodied in physical form across different incarnations and times. For more than 40 years thereafter, Edgar Cayce repeatedly entered trance states, providing humanity with remarkably accurate information and predictions. He called this process the interpretation of the Akashic Records, and he referred to Akashic as the Book of Life. During these readings, he could access all information within Akashic. Over his lifetime, Cayce left behind 15,000 readings, some of which have yet to come true. These unrealized readings are believed to be prophecies concerning humanity's future derived from Akashic. For example, one prediction speaks of a future therapeutic method that will enable transformations between the energy systems of the soul and the body, elevating medicine to an entirely new level. At that point, science and theology will no longer be in conflict. Humanity will begin to accept the existence of the soul, lose its fear of death, face it courageously, and look forward to a new life. Cayce never considered himself a superhuman. He saw himself merely as a reader. To him, each of us is a being of light, on a journey spanning millions of years, from free-floating thought forms to incarnating in physical bodies in order to learn how to express ourselves. One of Cayce's most intriguing prophecies concerned the awakening of China. He spoke of a day when the country would become a cradle of faith, a place where people practice belief in a pure and genuine form. The word Christianity in his prophecy, when traced back to its Jewish roots, does not refer narrowly to a single religion, but rather to the concept of the Messiah, a form of spiritual salvation, a new kind of awareness that helps humanity transcend the fear of death and division. Cayce envisioned a future where science and theology no longer clash. Medicine would no longer rely solely on surgery or drugs, but on the transformation of energy between soul and body. Humanity would come to understand that we are not separate entities, but that all things are one. The deepest and final point of convergence in Cayce's life, and echoed as well in Einstein's letter to his daughter, is the recognition of a force that governs the entire universe: love. This is not merely romantic love, but a fundamental interaction, a kind of light of life that connects individuals to the Creator. Cayce believed, only the desire to help others with complete selflessness allows one to read the Akashic most objectively. Ultimately, the purpose of studying Akashic is not to become powerful or wealthy. It is to help each soul learn unconditional love and understand that every experience on earth, whether pain or joy, is a lesson guiding us back to our original essence. From Ramanujan's mathematics to Tesla's engineering to Casey's prophecies, all paths converge on a single idea. We live in a conscious universe where all information is preserved and every soul is connected by an invisible thread to its source. Modern science is slowly approaching what these geniuses once glimpsed. Perhaps in the not-too-distant future, none of us will need a psychic or a genius to read the Akashic Records for us. When humanity learns to expand the mind and purify the heart, each individual may become a perfect transmitter and receiver of the universe. What do you think of the idea that love is a form of physical energy? Could we use the frequency of selflessness to decode the greatest mysteries of our own lives?